In the southernmost corner of Bangladesh, at the confluence of the coastal rivers, lies the water-submerged hanging hamlet Khulna Para, a settlement of the village Kalabagi adjacent to the Sundarbans. The village, hanging between hope and despair, now on the verge of losing its very existence due to the impacts of global climate change. Located about 58 kilometers south under Dakop Upazila of Khulna district. The southernmost village is Kalabagi, and Khulna is its last and most remote hamlet. A narrow strip of land, about 1 kilometer long, left behind after years of river erosion, is the only place where the people of Khulna can live. The powerful cyclone Amphan of 2020 and its tidal surge separated Khulna Para from the main Kalabagi village, turning it into a waterbound island. Here, survival itself is a form of courage. Every tide, every gust of wind carries both life and danger. The land of storms and tides, where people live constantly battling the forces of nature. Here, survival itself has become a profession. This is the story of the residents of Kalabagi village. Most of the residents of Khulna and other parts of Kalabagi depend on catching fish and fish fry for their livelihood. The people of Kalabagi mostly catch different species of shrimps. From the rivers and canals of the Sundarbans, 84 species of fishes are caught that have commercial values similar to shrimp. Along with throwing nets, various other nets and traps are used depending on the fishing location and type of fish. This box net, made with wood and mesh. Fish enter the box net lured by food, but once inside, they cannot escape. Fishermen place these box nets in such a way that fish moving with the receding tide get caught properly. Although the supply of fish may vary, the remote hamlets of Kalabagi village remain extremely vulnerable due to the impacts of climate change. This Khulna seems like a leftover fragment that the rivers have spared out of pity. Space is extremely scarce here, and daily life is equally difficult. Once, in this Khulna, more than 100 families lived in the fragile houses made of gol leaves, a leaf of a mangrove plants of the Sundarbans area. The number has gradually dropped to just below 50. There are no establishments in Khulna, not even a school or a marketplace. The small grocery shop in the hamlet barely manages to meet their daily necessities. Here, women do not clean rice in their yards. They sit on the wooden platforms of their stilt homes to do it. In this uncertain life, the number of things they do not have is much greater than what they do have, so they run their households with great caution and calculation. Raising cattle and poultry is quite a troublesome task in this hamlet due to the shortage of space. Livestock can roam around a little during low tide, but during high tide, they cannot move at all. With each passing day, the size of this hamlet is shrinking. Even amidst such hostile conditions, the skilled women of this hamlet create beautiful designs with needle and thread in making artistic traditional Nakshi Katha. There is a river on one side and a pond on the other, but in this land of water, there is a severe shortage of safe and drinkable water. Due to climate change-induced salinity increase, the surface water and groundwater here, though somewhat usable, are not drinkable. Since fishing is the main source of livelihood, the women here can easily manage fish for cooking, but they struggle to collect fresh water and other necessary supplies. These large clay pots or motka are the primary sources of usable water. Rainwater and water purchased from distant sources are stored in clay pots and plastic tanks to meet their yearly water needs, barely and with great difficulty. This loft house with a loudspeaker is the mosque of this hamlet. The golpata used to build these houses comes from the gol trees, which can tolerate salinity. Golpata, that is the leaves from gol tree, are long and narrow, much like coconut leaves. These cheap golpata leaves are very useful materials for building houses. Tidal saline water is entering in Khulna. The saline waters brought in by the coastal rivers from the Bay of Bengal flood the marginal hamlets of Kalabagi, including Khulna, several times a day. Here, within every 24 hours and 52 minutes, there are 2 high tides and 2 low tides. In Kalabagi's flood-prone hamlets, daily life and livelihood flow in rhythm with the rise and fall of the tides. As the tidal waters rise, the land gradually disappears. Though Watery Kingdom looks visually stunning, the ground beneath is constantly being submerged, hiding the harsh reality of losing homestead soil day after day. During normal high tides, the settlements usually go under 1 to 2 feet of water. During storms, cyclones, or tidal surges, an additional 3 feet of water is added at minimum. The residents here lead their lives and livelihoods by making a truce with the daily tides and seasonal disasters. The intensifying impacts of global climate change have become dominant reality of this coastal region. As a result, fragile settlements like Khulna are disappearing. The land area of Kalabagi village is shrinking. Becoming climate migrants or climate refugees, the most affected families have moved to various places, leaving this southernmost hamlet of Khulna, where existence itself is under threat. Some have moved to the western part of Kalabagi village, some to the eastern edge, and some to the northern boundary. Crossing either of the two rivers flanking Kalabagi village, one will find the Shibsa Wildlife Sanctuary in the western Sundarbans. The western part of the world's largest single mangrove forest, the Sundarbans, has created a dreamland of biodiversity across approximately 2,072 square kilometers of the Khulna coast. This river-woven forest acts as a protective wall, shielding the region from storms, cyclones, and tidal surges. At the same time, it provides diverse resources that sustain the livelihoods of local forest-dependent communities. Among those who catch fish and fish fry in the rivers and canals of the western Sundarbans are residents from various hamlets of Kalabagi village. Braving the risk of tigers on land and crocodiles in the water, these fearless, forest-dependent people collect wood, golpata, honey, and crabs from the forest, while others gather fish and fry from the rivers and canals. The shrimp fry collected by the local collectors are supplied as raw materials to the nearby shrimp farms that locally called chingri gare. The shrimp fry are separated from the water, using crushed oyster shells to help filter them out. Since roughly 3% of the catch consists of shrimp fry, and the remaining 97% are fry of other fish species, the shrimp fry must be carefully sorted out. Environmentally conscious fry collectors usually carry out the sorting process right on their boats. Each collector here typically catches between 500 to 1,000 shrimp fry per day. By selling these collected fry, some days the collectors manage to earn enough to run their families, while on other days they do not. Fry collection in these rivers and canals is most active from January to May. The highest number of fry is caught during March and April. Due to a ban imposed by the Forest Department, fishing and fry collection are stopped here from June to August. Forest Department bans, the declining condition of shrimp farming, natural disasters, attacks by tigers, crocodiles, and pirates, and a lack of employment. These challenges are part of the everyday reality for the people who depend on this forest and river ecosystem. On the banks of the Shibsa River, this hanging hamlet is the most well-known hamlet of Kalabagi village, locally called Julanta Para. This hamlet, located about 7 kilometers south of Sutarkadi Union Headquarter under Dakop Upazila of Khulna district. The lifestyle of this hamlet is completely devastated by the impacts of global climate change. Almost isolated from the mainland, this river-surrounded and remote hanging hamlet has no means of travel except by waterways, and boats are the only form of transport. Whether or not they possess any other wealth, life becomes nearly impossible here without having a boat. Depending on weather conditions, the mood of the coastal river changes frequently. Swirling waves usually signal the arrival of storms or heavy rain. Here, the monsoon winds from the Bay of Bengal carries clouds that cause rain at any moment. The coastal region of Khulna receives about 3,000 millimeters of rainfall annually, most of it between June and October. The force of storms and rains increases the severity of river erosion. The river erosion triggered by the cyclone Shikder in 2007 has still not stopped in Kalabagi. In this hanging hamlet of Kalabagi, the houses made of golpata regularly endure storms, rains, and tidal surges, and repeatedly change position as they fall victim to erosion. Because the construction cost is higher than golpata houses, tin-roofed houses in this hamlet are very few. During the monsoon, collecting and storing rainwater is the most important task. Those who became homeless due to the devastating cyclone of 1988 and the river erosion that followed were the first to build homes in this hanging hamlet. If seen from a bird's-eye view, one will find the accuracy of the name Hanging Hamlet. Hundreds of hanging loft rooms built side by side and appearing to float on water. Platforms on bamboo and wooden poles, homes perched on those platforms. Whether high tide or low tide, everything here is completely hanging. The roofs of golpata houses rarely last more than 3 years, so the old one must regularly be replaced with new ones. Poles from tree, wooden planks, and fences made of golpata. Using these 3 main materials, the residents here build their vulnerable houses. Money is scarce, and maintenance is needed almost every year. So the residents of Julonto Para repair their own homes themselves. These yearly repairs give these hanging houses the strength to withstand yet another season of storms, cyclones, and tidal surges. Almost all the houses here do not have any beds or cots. Only the efforts to accumulate basic necessities are evident in every household here. For the residents of these hanging houses, safe drinking water, hygienic sanitation, and medical facilities are the things they can only dream of. Here there is no electricity connection. Those who are slightly better dependent on solar panels. Around 400 families, nearly 3,000 people, live in this Julanto Para. Every home, every family here carries an untold, tragic story of its own. Jayanti Rani Sarkar. After her husband Sujit Sarkar died from a thunderstorm while fishing, she has been single-handedly raising their 3 children.
কালার আগে আমার স্বামী মারা গেছে এই 2 বছর আগে নদীতে জাল ধরতে গেছিল তাই নদীর বাস পড়ে মারা গেছে বিদ্যুতে মারা গেছে এখন আমার 3টে বাচ্চা অনেক কষ্ট করে তাদের মানুষ করতেছি জাল ধরে নদীতে জাল ধরে অনেক বাড়ি বাড়ি খাটাখাটনি করে কাজ করে অনেক কষ্টে আমার জীবন চলতেছে অতি কষ্টে এই কষ্টের মাধ্যমে বাচ্চা 3টে মানুষ করতেছি আর পড়াশোনা সবকিছু সংসারে সবকিছু দায়িত্ব আমার ঘাড়ে
The firewood stored here is their emergency fuel for difficult times. Judging the mood of the weather, the women here sometimes cook outside their homes and sometimes inside. As the day progresses, the workload of the housewives increases from one kitchen space to another. Amid various household tasks inside and outside the home, cooking remains the daily, unchanging duty of the women of Julentopara. Despite the hostile environment and the need to manage every household chore, the women here also take full responsibility for ensuring everyone in the family gets their meals, every day, every time. This is mother Amirunesa and her son Nur Mohammed. Like everyone else in Julentopara, they too live with constant fear and suffering that never truly leaves them.
এই শুনতেছি যে একজনের জঙ্গলে বাঘে ধরেছে আবার তারপরেও শুনতেছি তারপরেও আবার যাচ্ছে কি করব পেটের দায়ে যাতে আছে তারপরে সুন্দরবনে যে যায় যে সুস্থভাবে একটু মাছ শাক বা অন্য কিছু মারবো, তা আমাকে শান্তি নেই। ওই যে জলদস্যু আছে, তারা আমাকে অতিরিক্ত চাপ দেয়, মারধর করে, টাকা পয়সা চায়, এমনভাবে টাকা পয়সা চাবে তা আমাকে মানে আমরা 1 বছরও এরকম টাকা গোছাতে পারবো না। আমরা দিন আনি দিন খাই, একবারে 20,000, 25,000, 50,000 আমরা কিভাবে দেবো? আমরা দিতেও পারিনি, না দিতে পারলে ওদের সাথে আটকে রাখে, ওদের সাথে মারধর করে, অত্যাচার করে, নৌকা নিয়ে নেয়, জাল নিয়ে নেয়।
আমার নাম আকবর মোড়ল, কালাবাগি ঝুলন্ত পাড়ায় বসবাস করি। তারপর আমি জঙ্গলের ভিতরে মাছ মারতে যাই। মাছ মারতে যাওয়ার পরে আমার কোমরে ধরে 10 সালে।
Many in Kalabagi, like Akbar Moral, have at times fallen victim to tigers and at other times to crocodiles. Some have lost limbs and some have lost their lives.
আমি বসবাস করি এখানে, আবার জঙ্গল কিছু কিছু জঙ্গল করি, এরপর আর বাড়ি থাকি।
Because of the lack of space, some people raise chickens inside netted cages like this. Only duck rearing causes no trouble in Julentopara. Although there are sheds for goats, no one rears cows here due to the difficulties of frequent relocation. The reality of constant relocation is a part of everyday life here. Even for cooking, the housewives use movable clay stoves. Most residents here cannot afford to buy land and build homes elsewhere. That is why this Julentopara has risen on government-owned char land in the river. Because of land ownership complications and continuous river erosion, constructing permanent and durable structures here is nearly impossible. To witness firsthand how severely climate change can disrupt coastal lifestyles, this Julentopara of Kalabagi village stands as a living museum. Even Queen Matilda Marie Christine of Belgium visited this museum in 2023. Many residents here had ample land, proper homes, financial stability, and well-structured families a decade and a half ago. Climate change has taken away everything. There are no open fields to run in, no yards to play in. The wooden platforms of the hanging houses serve as the only playgrounds. Deprived of the joy of running freely and denied the opportunity to attend school, the children of Julentopara spend a water-encircled childhood. People like Jayanti Rani Sarkar, who have lost support, assets, and financial stability, now survive through sharecropping, fishing, fry collecting, or daily wage labor. Somehow, they manage to hold their fragile households together. Not a single house in Julentopara is built fully on the ground. Most of the back portion hangs in the air, while only a small part in front is connected to the soil. Some residents of the hamlet work in the nearby shrimp farms. Boats here serve all kinds of purposes: collecting fish and fry, gathering forest resources, fetching fresh water, taking patients to health centers, or going to markets for daily essentials. No task in this hamlet can be done without a boat. In Kalabagi of Khulna and across the entire coastal belt of Bangladesh, nearly 35 million people are victims of climate change-induced environmental disasters. As temperature, sea level, salinity, and cyclonic intensity continue to rise, the severity of these disasters increases as well. Bangladesh ranks 7th among the countries most affected by global climate change. By 2050, with 1/3 of agricultural GDP lost, about 12.5 million people in this country are projected to become climate refugees. Although various initiatives, both international and national, have been undertaken, including the creation of a climate change trust fund, inefficiency, corruption, and other issues have hindered progress. The capacity to cope with climate risks is not improving as needed. Climate-resilient technologies are not being developed, and the livelihood crises of climate refugees remain unresolved. Climate refugees must fight two battles, one against natural disasters and the other for their livelihoods. Although the climate refugees of Kalabagi are resilient fighters, the embankment meant to protect their settlement is far from effective. This Kalabagi village market, or bazaar, located beside the embankment, lies about 1 kilometer northeast of Julentopara. Various seasonal vegetables are the main items sold in this market. Kalabagi Bazaar is one of the 5 major markets in this region. A weekly hot market fair is held here every Thursday. Compared to regular market days, far more essential goods are bought and sold here, along with daily necessities. Important items such as clothing are also available here to some extent. This market plays a vital role in meeting the daily needs of residents from the remote hamlets of Kalabagi village. From Kalabagi Bazaar beside the Sutarkali River, a 5-minute walk north reveals this Noya Para, the new neighborhood. Among the climate refugees who relocated from vulnerable hamlets like Khulna and Julentopara, those who are relatively better off have purchased land and built houses in this new settlement. Although a handful of relatively well-off residents have secured proper housing in this new settlement Noya Para, protected by embankments and free from the tidal influence, most climate refugees living outside the embankment remain unprotected and vulnerable. This cyclone shelter near the Noya Para is one of the 131 cyclone shelters in the coastal Dakop Upazila. During seasonal storms, cyclones, and tidal surges, the cyclone shelter provides temporary safety to some people for a short time. But the impacts of global climate change have established a permanent regime of fear, suffering, erosion, and destruction along the coast.